Guys, Jerry from Showtime Audio. So we have another beautiful black on black Bronco in, and this is another two-door. So this is going to be our second two-door that we've done, but we're doing a full stereo upgrade. So we're doing one of our stage 1 packages. This thing is gorgeous. I mean, it's black on black, all the badging, wheels, trim, everything. It's just a gorgeous vehicle. It does have the B&O upgrade, which is just horrible. I mean, Nick hates it. So he's like, you know, you pay all this extra money for this upgrade and it's still horrible. So we're gonna do one of our stage 1 upgrades, which is basically swapping out all the front stage, the front speakers, 5-channel amplifier, and adding in a subwoofer. It's just a huge difference. Hondo built, this is one of our brackets that we machine in-house. So as you can see, it picks up a stock bolt. All the gear is mounted to here. So we have the 5-channel amplifier, the B&O interface. So this allows us to interface with the factory B&O system. So you will literally plug all these connectors, which are what plug into the factory amplifier. And now you have this new 5-channel amplifier, which is running the dash speakers, the kicks, and the new sub. We're gonna put a sub on the tailgate. And as you can see, all our wires are flex braided, heat shrunk, and that'll all be hidden inside of the wiring. And if you look here, you can see all the wiring has been braided. So, and then wrapped in the Tessa tape. That's our power wire, which is running to the front. And then we'll show you the bass knob. But this panel will go back on. Other than the sub enclosure, you'd have no idea that this car will now have an amazing sound system versus the B&O sound system. All right, so, and these are our kick adapters. So again, it's machined out of a 3/8 composite material. And then we have our foam gasket. And then we have our deadener ring. If you've seen any of our other stuff, we always deaden around the speaker and behind the speaker at a minimum. Like, we don't do it any other way. So we feel that that gives you a seal between the adapter and the car. It also deadens the metal immediately around the speaker and behind the speaker. And then we also modify these plug and play connectors. So we de-pin them, fish them through here. Then this will all plug in. We'll bolt all this together. And then again, when you get in the car, it is now plug and play, right? So you put in the 3 bolts, plug in the 1 connector, but there was a lot of work that went into getting it to this stage, right? But again, we try to do as much as we can outside of the vehicle so that when we get to the vehicle, it becomes much easier. So in the normal speaker adapter, it's the speaker and the plastic housing, there's a connector, which is this little bump out embedded here. That's where your factory speaker connector would plug in. So the reason we do this is now we have that same connector. It's not in the adapter, but it's right next to it and plugs in exactly the same way as if it came with it from the factory. All right, and now the final result on our stage 1 2-door Bronco project. So as you can see, everything goes back together. I mean, still have the factory grill, which actually lets the amplifier breathe, right? So it doesn't get super hot. But other than that, I mean, it looks completely stock, right? You couldn't tell that we'd done anything to it. So the only piece we added is obviously this enclosure, which is bolted and rib nutted to the tailgate itself so that it's securely mounted. It's a 12-inch Hertz. This thing rocks. I mean, the amount of output out of this is always impressive, especially in a 2-door. Obviously, it's a smaller cab, right? Because you're missing a whole set of doors. But yeah, this thing sounds amazing with just the front stage and the subwoofer. I mean, night and day difference over the factory. I wish I could show you the difference, but obviously over, you know, phone speakers and stuff like that, you're just not going to get the full effect. But trust me when I tell you that the difference is ridiculous. When we run our wiring, we run it through the factory harness. And so this way, you know, there's no extra wires or nothing that can get pinched. You know, the enclosure, if you look, this is the factory bump out, right? So the enclosure only sticks out past the factory bump out by maybe an inch or so. And so you can, if you look here, you can see that it's roughly the size of this bump out. So you're not losing a ton of space. The woofer has this really sturdy grill, so you don't have to worry about it, you know, getting hit or damaged. In our stage 1 package, we change out the front, the top 4-inch, the bottom 6.5. We eliminate the rears, basically just leave them disconnected, and add a subwoofer along with a 5-channel amp. And in this case, it was a B&O system, so we did our B&O interface. So that allows us to plug in and retain all the functionality of the vehicle. And lastly, in our tradition, we modify the bass knob and drill and mount it to the shroud. So this way, it's really easy. It's, you know, on the fly, you can adjust just how much bass you want or don't want, right? But again, other than that, you would never, other than the sub enclosure, you would never know that this vehicle has a completely upgraded sound system. The B&O systems, as anybody with a Bronco, an F-150, any of those vehicles know, it is just horrible. Even though it has a subwoofer and an amplifier, it is just, the speakers are paper and plastic. The amplifiers have almost no power. The sub, this is a brand new truck, and he said that he was already getting rattling from the speakers. And that's typically because you're turning it up and, you know, you want it to sound good, but it's distorting and basically hurting the speakers. Like, so they're in essence going bad or blowing up, and you're just never going to get the output out of it. Now, so the other main thing is, obviously we talk about this a lot, in a vehicle that's an open air vehicle where you can remove the roof, the doors, anything like that, you need the power. Because you're just not going to hear it over, you know, the city noise, wind noise, the rumbling of the tires. Definitely, this is more than just a luxury. It's almost a necessity, because if you want to actually listen to the stereo, you're at any kind of speed, you need the volume. All right, and so just to show you the level of detail, right? So Hondo built this little bracket, and this is our fuse holder. So the wire is flex braided, which is not just an aesthetic thing. It looks pretty cool, but it's also a function thing. This is abrasion resistant, so it keeps the wire protected and keeps it from getting damaged if it does happen to rub up against anything, or you know, keeps it from damaging the wire itself. Plus, so as always, we color code or color label all our powers, so that if the car ever does get serviced, there it is again, right? There's no question where it goes. This is the factory, right? So the factory labels their powers red. So we label our powers red.